Alright, step one to my canning process is to get my jars and my lids ran through the dishwasher. And I have 2 sets of 12, so I have 24 jars in here. Hello family and friends and fellow YouTubers, it's Kim here from Kim's Country Corner. And this weekend I am out at the Hancock Homestead because it is time to preserve all of the fresh vegetables that we have grown this season, this 2022 season. And the first vegetable that I'm going to start with is our sweet corn. And I'm going to preserve it 2 different ways. I'm going to pressure can it in the canner, and I'm also going to freeze it. So the method I'm going to use is going to be the raw pack, where I will simply just blanch the corn and pack it. And before I get started though, I just want to kind of go over a few things that you're going to need if you decide you also want to can your corn. And of course the first thing you're going to need are the corn, you know, the corn cobs. So I have that. I have lots of corn to do. And then you're also going to need jars. Now your jars will come in 2 different sizes. Well, actually jars come in all different sizes, but normally you have pints or you have quarts. And depending on how much corn you're going to eat will depend on which size jar you're going to use. Now, when we open a can of corn or a jar of corn, we go through it pretty quickly. So I'm going to be doing quart jars today. And because I'm going to be doing quart jars, then that means that I also need wide mouth jar lids. And these you have to buy fresh each time you can. And then I'll need the rings to tighten on that lid. And then there's a few canning equipment tools that you'll need, and you can buy these in sets. And normally a set will come with a funnel, a magnet, a jar grabber. Okay, well actually it goes like the jar grabber, alright, and a debubbler. Okay, this is what you use to get your air pockets out, and it also has a measuring gauge so that you can measure head space in your jar. Head space is important because you have to leave a little bit of space at the top of your jars to allow for increase in your foods. So anyway, okay, now you can buy these in sets, or you can oftentimes find them at garage sales, you know, estate sales. And but this one just happens to be my mother's funnel, and then this one just happens to be my best friend's funnel, and neither of these ladies can anymore, so I have their funnels for keepsake. But anyway, and then you will also need a pair of tongs, okay? Now, one of the tools that you can use also is what's called a blanching pot, and it is a pot that has like a colander inside. Okay, and what you do is you get hot water in there, you fill this part up with your veggies, and you stick it in the hot water. Then that way when it gets finished blanching, you just simply raise this out, drain it, and it's ready to go. However, because of the amount of corn that I have to do, this will not service me today. So I will show you my setup. So the way I will be doing it today is that you see I have my pressure canner over here. It's got 3 quarts of water in the bottom to boil and steam. And then back here I have stock pots. I have 2 of these that are heating up with boiling water that I will use to blanch the corn. And then I will be using the tongs to take the corn out and put into my roasters back here that has ice cold water in it. So that's how I will be blanching the corn today. So we're going to go ahead and get started, and I will show you the process. Okay, and then I take an ear of corn. I make sure I have as much of the hair off as possible. If there are any bad spots, you will want to cut those bad spots out. And then I will add it to my hot pan back here. Okay? I have another pan now. I'll put my stuff. This is back here. This one has just a little bit of a bad spot there, so I'm going to slice that out. Okay. All right, now I have my pans full, so I'm going to set my timer for 2 minutes. Oh, there it is. Oh my God, the timer. Okay, this back here. Alright, and then I have these pans ready to go to slice the corn into. Okay, so I set the timer for 2 minutes. I'm going to cook this corn for just 2 minutes. Then I will take it out of the hot pans back here and blanch it. And I'm going to bring you guys in just a little bit closer. Alright, so I take the corn out and I put it into the ice water. That stops the cooking process. They do make a tool that you can buy. It's a round, like, cob slicer. I have not bought one yet. I haven't ground corn in a very long time. So you might look into that if you have a lot of corn to do. I usually, once I get started with a little bit of practice, I get in a pretty good rhythm. And I can do it by hand fairly quickly. Okay, so some people might be looking at this and going, wow, that is a lot of work for a few cans of canned corn. And it is. I mean, you have a lot of cobs that you have to slice kernels off of to get those cans of corn. But it's fresh grown, you know, good variety corn that you enjoy. And there's nothing like having your own canned corn to eat in the middle of winter, you know, and enjoy that summer goodness throughout the year. So it's definitely worth the time and effort. Okay, so I thought I would show you up close how I'm doing this corn. So I take the fresh corn out of the bucket here, okay, and I take it over and I take off any hairs or any bad spots, and I put them into this pan, okay? And then I take the clean corn and I put them into my stock pots of boiling water, all right? And then I set my timer for 2 minutes. And I cook these for 2 minutes, 2 to 3 minutes. All right, so the timer just went off for the 2 minute mark. So then, using a pair of tongs, okay, I take the corn out of the hot water and I put it into the ice water. And a lot of my ice is already melted because this is my second batch here. But then the cold water shuts down the cooking process. Okay, so that's what's called blanching. You cook it for a short amount of time, and then you transfer it to cold to stop the cooking process. All right, and then after that, after I let them all cool down, then I transfer them over here to this pan for the slicing. I do kind of make a watery, drippy mess, but I just keep a towel handy. Canning is not really the neatest process. Okay. And then we're back to the slicing again. Slice those kernels right off that cob. And it also helps to have this raised thing. And I found this plastic is not sliding and it stays pretty firm. Okay, so back to slicing more corn. Okay, so just to give you a reference point, I took the corn that was in this pan here and I measured it into a quart jar to see how many jars I would have so far. And I was able to get 2 quart jars of corn, okay? So then I counted my cobs, and 15 cobs for each jar. So, because I have 30 cobs here, so 15 cobs for each jar approximately. Of course, your corn will range anywhere from this size to this size, so you know it's not an exact size measurement, but it gives you an idea, approximate idea as to how much corn you're going to need. So for our variety and for our size, we need about 15 cobs to get 1 quart jar of corn. Alright, and so I have a lot more corn to go. So far I have 2 quarts, and my goal is to reach 7. So let's keep working. Okay friends, so I think I have enough corn sliced now to fill up 7 quart jars, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. Okay, and so then I'm also going to use some of my corn water to fill this in up to 1 inch headspace. Yep, that's about right. And then I'm going to use my head measure, and I'm going to go through and poke to remove any air bubbles. And allow for that inch head space. And then I'm going to take a bowl of vinegar here, and I'm going to wipe off the rims with a clean rag because I want to make sure I don't have any residue on the top. So I want to have a good seal. Alright, now it's time to add the lids and the rings. Alright, so using your magnet, you get out a lid. Put that on there, put on a ring, and fingertip tight. Headspace allows for the corn to expand without blowing the lid off. But you don't want too much headspace or else you'll end up with a pocket of air. So, for corn, you need 1 inch of headspace. Make sure you have that metal platform down in the bottom because you want your cans raised up just a little bit. You want your canning jars raised up just a little bit. Alright, there we go, 7 quarts. John's going to get the lid on for me, and then we're going to let it vent for 10 minutes, and then we'll put on our weight, and then we'll start timing. Okay, so John got the lid securely on for me, and now we are letting it steam for 10 minutes. It is considered exhausting the pressure cooker. It's supposed to like steam for 10 minutes, and then we will add the gauge at the 10-pound level. And for quarts, you have to do 85 minutes, and for pints, you do 55 minutes. And since we have quarts, we'll do 85 minutes. That's like an hour and a half. But first things first, we have to let it steam itself for 10 minutes. Okay, friends, so the pressure canner has been exhausting itself for 10 minutes now. So I'm going to put the weight on, and for our region of the country, our altitude, we need the 10-pound weight. So that's this little hole right here. So I'm going to stick that on there. Alright, and we'll listen for it to rattle. And then we want the rattling to be consistent. So if it starts rattling too fast, I turn the heat down. If it starts rattling too slow, I turn the heat up. And whenever I have a consistent rattling, then that's when I know to start timing. For quarts, I will leave them in there for 85 minutes. So I will be sure and set my timer. After this gets finished processing for 85 minutes, you have to let your pressure canner cool completely down. You do not want to open that lid while it's still hot. So it'll take probably another couple of hours for it to cool down before I can remove the jars. Okay? So it's a long process to do pressure canning cooking. That's why a lot of people prefer just the freezer method. It's a lot faster, but we wanted to try doing the canned corn, so we're trying that, and then we're also going to be freezing some. Okay, so I'm going to stay in here until that starts to rattle. Okay, so it is starting to jiggle. We want it to jiggle consistently. It sounds pretty fast to me, so I am going to turn it down just a little bit. Alright, so I have a consistent jiggle going on now. I turned it down just a little bit, but it's now a consistent jiggle. And I have my timer set for 85 minutes. So I will be back. Okay, friends, well, the little thing is still jiggling. It's been at 84 minutes now, so we just have one more minute to go, but I just wanted to show you that it is still jiggling. So in about 30 seconds, we're going to turn it off, and then we're going to let it set and cool down. You do not want to do anything to it until it's completely cooled. Don't try to remove the lid or jars or anything until it has completely cooled. Okay, friends, so it's been a couple of hours. This has cooled down. We've got the lid open. John told me that it has a lock on it, so it will not unlock itself until the pressure has lowered enough. So we were able to twist the lid, and it's ready to pop off, maybe. Okay, friends, so John came in and loosened the lid for me. While he was doing that, I put down a towel to set the cans on. So the weight's been taken off, the lid's been removed, and now we're going to lift these cans of, these jars of corn out of the pressure canner. Check the lids. Just as I suspected, these have all sealed. The bubble is all indented. Alright, I will go through and I will mark the date on here, and these should last us through the biggest part of the winter. Of course, the way we go through it, it goes about halfway through the winter. Okay, so I have 7 quarts of canned corn now, freshly picked from our garden, canned and onto our shelves. And just makes me feel really good to have this done today. And I appreciate all of John's help today with the pressure canner and picking the corn. So I'm going to call this it for this video. If you liked this video, please give me a thumbs up. And if you want to know more about what's going on in my corner of the world, hit that subscribe button to Kilm's Country Corner. And be sure and come back, because next step will be freezing the corn. Alright, talk to y'all later. Bye for now. Okay, family and friends and fellow YouTubers. So, after we finished the first batch of 7 quarts, John and I decided to go ahead and do another canner full of jars. So we actually did 7 more quarts. So we have 14 quarts of corn all together. So I'm going to go ahead and put these quart jars away, and then we will come back to the freezing of corn. Alright, talk to you in a bit.